All right, so I've written down here just a few abstract parts of arguments. We don't like abstract language. It's a little bit confusing and hard to relate to, but it's important to know something about it. Because this argument, it has a lot of these things. It has a conclusion, it has evidence, but it also has a subconclusion. And a subconclusion is both evidence for the main conclusion and the conclusion for the evidence that came earlier. A simpler argument will involve simply evidence and conclusion, but a multi-layered argument has three different parts. You might also sometimes have what's called a counter-premise, which is evidence supporting the opposing side. So we could say, for example, as evidence, you shouldn't turn on the air conditioner because it leads to global warming. And because it leads to global warming, you're going to have tsunamis, and tsunamis are bad, therefore don't turn on the air conditioner. So it's building bit by bit towards an ultimate main point, but they take multiple steps to get there. And of course, it would be really nice if they just broke it down very simply, 1, 2, 3, in that order. But in this particular argument, they don't do that. Unless it's the easiest question of all, like maybe a question number 2 or a question number 1, they're going to put it out of order and kind of scramble it, and we're going to have to rearrange things. So in this particular argument for number 11, somebody want to tell me what the main conclusion is? Yeah?
The last one, a given number of people produce less pollution if concentrated in a large city than if dispersed in many small towns.
Nice. So that is a conclusion, and we have an indicator word, right? Thus. Thus is a good indicator word giving us conclusion. But is this the ultimate point of the argument, or is it driving towards something else? It's not easy because they're giving us the conclusion indicator thus. Thus does indicate conclusion, but like I said, they scrambled things around a little bit. So it's actually supporting something else, which is what?
Would it be increasing urbanization may actually reduce the total amount of pollution generated nationwide?
Yeah, perfect. Exactly. Nice. So the first sentence is actually the main conclusion, and it's weird because there's no indicator word at all. Really tricky of them to do that. So this argument goes, increasing urbanization may actually reduce. Why? Because residents of large cities, blah, blah, blah. Thus, because those residents of large cities, blah, 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 a given number of people will produce less pollution if in a large city than a small town. Because people in a large city produce less than a small town because they're concentrated, as a result, increasing urbanization in general will produce less pollution overall. And we can relate to that living in New York, right? Taking the subway, not owning a car, we're all already doing good, giving ourselves good karma for life because of that. So that's kind of the point of this argument. Now the question is, what's the role played in the argument by the claim increasing urbanization may actually reduce? Well, that was the first sentence, right? So that first sentence was the main conclusion. The main conclusion. The last sentence was the subconclusion, and in the middle, we had the evidence. There is no counter-premise in this argument, but a tougher question may have that. I might say, like, some people say that living in cities is bad because blah, 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 whatever that could be. But anyway, what we're looking for here is the main conclusion, and is there an answer choice that basically matches our prephrase of main conclusion? Yeah? Just feel free to call out. E, yeah, exactly. It's a claim the rest of the argument is designed to establish. So the entire rest of the argument with its evidence and its subconclusion is building up to the first sentence, just in a roundabout way. And by the way, when they use vague language like may, that's actually an indication we may be dealing with the primary conclusion of the argument, especially if it's the first sentence and there's no indicator word and they say something may do something. Chances are the rest of the argument will actually lead up to that. It will provide evidence supporting that.